self.
That's fascinating territory. And it's actually what we're diving into today. We're looking at Carl Jung's idea of the
As
shadow.
shadow. Okay.
Think of it as the hidden parts of ourselves, the aspects we don't really like to acknowledge, maybe even try to uh, suppress.
Right.
These could be traits, desires, maybe even untapped talents that we've decided are unacceptable for some reason.
Okay, so the word shadow, it sounds kind of negative, doesn't it? Like it's all the stuff we want to keep locked away in the, I don't know, the basement of our minds.
It does sound that way initially.
But you're hinting there's more to it than just the dark side?
Absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting. Jung believed that our shadow, the very part we tend to reject, paradoxically holds incredible potential.
Potential. How so?
Well, it can be a source of untapped energy, creativity, even clues to living a more complete and authentic life. It's not about embracing negativity, like you said, but about understanding the hidden messages within it.
That's a really different way of looking at it. So Jung wasn't just doing psychology, he was trying to bridge that with something deeper, maybe almost spiritual.
Precisely. Carl Jung was a groundbreaking psychologist, yeah, but he was deeply interested in the connection between our conscious awareness and the vast, often mysterious realm of the unconscious.
Okay.
He saw the human psyche as this really rich tapestry, you know, and the shadow was a vital, albeit often overlooked, thread within that tapestry.
Okay, let's unpack that. How does the shadow actually show up in our day-to-day lives? Can you give us a more relatable example? When might we be bumping into these hidden parts?
Sure. Think about those persistent feelings of inadequacy, maybe. The ones you try to just ignore.
Yeah,
Or those unexpected bursts of frustration or anger that seem to come out of nowhere.
definitely had those.
Right. Even those passions you secretly have but dismiss as, like, silly or impractical.
Yeah.
These can all be ways your shadow is trying to make itself known.
Huh.
It's those parts of you that feel a little bit off limits.
I can definitely relate to that. And, sometimes someone else's behavior just gets under my skin and I honestly can't quite articulate why. Is that a sign my shadow might be involved?
Exactly. That's a huge sign. Jung had this incredibly insightful quote, something like, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves.
Oh, okay.
This points directly to the concept of projection. Often when we react really strongly to a trait in someone else, it's because we subconsciously recognize that same tendency within our own shadow.
We'll see it in them because it's actually in us.
In a way, yeah. It's like seeing a reflection of something we haven't fully accepted or dealt with in ourselves.
Wow. Okay, that's something to really think about. Can you give us a really clear example of projection? How that works in real life? It's still a bit of a mind bender for me.
Okay, let's take someone who constantly criticizes others for being lazy. Here.
Yeah. We probably all know someone like that.
On the surface, they might genuinely believe they just value hard work. But if you dig a little deeper, sometimes you find that their intense judgment actually stems from their own buried feelings of guilt about not being productive enough.
Oh.
Or maybe a suppressed desire to just relax and take it easy, but they don't allow themselves that. So they project their own unacknowledged lazy tendencies onto others.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So the shadow isn't just a dumping ground for flaws and negativity then.
Not at all.
It's also holding on to potential energy we haven't tapped into.
Precisely. Think of it like this. If you're constantly suppressing a certain emotion or desire, that takes a lot of energy, right?
Yeah, I guess it would.
That energy isn't just disappearing. It's going into keeping that shadow aspect locked away. If you can start to understand and integrate it, that energy becomes available.
Available for what?
For growth, for creativity, for just living more fully.
Okay, so let's say we start to recognize these shadow aspects in ourselves. What's the next step? Just saying, oh, hey, there's that part of me I don't like, isn't going to magically solve everything, is it?
No, definitely not. Recognition is the crucial first step, but it's part of a bigger process, Jung, called individuation.
Individuation.
Sounds big.
It is, sort of. Think of it like assembling all the pieces of a puzzle to see the complete picture of yourself. It's the lifelong journey of becoming a whole integrated person by consciously engaging with and bringing those disowned aspects of the shadow into our awareness. It's a continuous process, a journey of self-discovery, not a one-time fix.
Like Hercules facing his rage or Luke Skywalker confronting Vader and his own darkness. Is it like that?
Yeah.
That kind of journey? That's a great way to think about it. Those myths and stories often capture this exact process of confronting the inner shadow.
Mm-hmm.
It takes courage, for sure. Are you ready to take that first step?
Maybe. But how does the shadow even try to get our attention? It's not like it sends us an email, right? Memo. You're projecting again.
Huh. No, not quite. It communicates in more subtle ways. Our dreams, for instance, can be a really powerful messenger.
Dreams. Oh.
They often present shadow aspects through symbols, recurring themes,
Yeah.
things that feel unsettling or weird.
Yeah.
Also, intense fears, ones that don't seem to have a clear external cause, can be the shadow signaling something important.
Okay.
And like we talked about with projection, those disproportionately strong emotional reactions we have to other people,
Yeah.
that can be a direct line to understanding what's going on in our own shadow. You really got to pay attention to what pushes your buttons.
Okay, so it's about learning to read these signals, dreams, fears, strong reactions. Once we start noticing them, what do we actually do with that information? How do we start to work with the shadow?
Well, the process generally involves a few key elements. Awareness is first, then acceptance, and finally exploration.
Okay, break that down.
First, just become aware of those shadow aspects without judgment. That's key.
Easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely. Then second, try to accept them as part of your whole self, even the parts you don't particularly like. They're there for a reason.
And third?
Exploration. Get curious. Ask, what might this aspect be trying to tell me? What needs might it be trying to meet? Maybe in a clumsy way. What's it afraid of?
Acceptance without judgment. That sounds like the real challenge there. We're so used to beating ourselves up for our flaws.
It is challenging, but imagine the liberation, the freedom that comes with accepting all parts of yourself, the so-called good and the bad.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly fighting against yourself, you start to work with all your inner resources. And that integration, that's what can lead to a deeper sense of authenticity, real grounded confidence.
So understanding our shadow isn't just about, like, fixing our problems. It can actually lead us towards a greater sense of who we truly are meant to be.
Exactly. Think about it. Our true self isn't just the shiny, polished version we try to present to the world.
Yeah.
It includes all the messy, imperfect parts, too. By acknowledging and integrating our shadow, we move closer to our authentic core. Jung had another great quote for this. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.
That's powerful. Okay, so for someone listening right now, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, but also intrigued, what's one practical first step they could take, like, today?
A really good starting point is to pay close attention to your emotional reactions to other people.
The projection thing again.
Exactly. When you find yourself strongly disliking someone or judging them harshly, pause for a second. Ask yourself, okay, what is it about this person specifically that's triggering me so much?
Okay.
And then the slightly harder question. Could I possibly have a similar tendency within myself, even in a small way? Or is this touching on something I wish I had? Just that simple act of self-reflection. It can open a door to understanding your own shadow projections. It's a start.
That feels really accessible. So by looking outward at our reactions, we can actually learn a ton about what's going on inside.
Precisely. It's like using the world around us as a mirror reflecting our inner landscape, shadow and all.
We need practical tools, though, right? Besides just observing reactions.
Definitely. Radical self-honesty is huge. Just looking at yourself without the usual filters.
Oof.
Sounds tough.
It can be. Paying attention to those emotional triggers, like we said, and really asking, why? What does this reveal about me? That's key.
What about journaling or meditation?
Absolutely. Journaling is fantastic. You can even try dialoguing with your shadow on paper. Ask it questions. Why do you feel this way? What are you trying to protect me from?
Talking to your shadow.
Metaphorically, yeah. Or through visualization and meditation. And definitely journaling dreams, paying attention to recurring themes and symbols can be incredibly revealing.
How does all this affect, like, our relationships? Hugely. Unresolved shadow stuff often manifests as conflict.
Yeah.
Misunderstandings, arguments.
Yeah.
But if you start understanding your own projections and maybe even recognizing your partner's, conflict can actually become an opportunity for growth, for deeper understanding. It transforms things.
And you mentioned creativity earlier. How does the shadow connect there?
Well, all that suppressed energy we talked about, when you start integrating the shadow, that energy gets freed up. It needs somewhere to go.
So you can channel it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Suppressed anger could fuel advocacy for a cause you believe in.
Yeah.
A hidden desire for attention might be channeled into performance or art. It's about redirecting that raw energy.
It's like finding fuel in unexpected places.
Precisely. Jung even believed that this individual work, this individuation, contributes to the collective unconscious. Like confronting our own shadow doesn't just transform us, It can ripple outwards, inspire others.
Wow. So it's personal work, but with potentially wider effects.
That was his view. It all comes back to wholeness,
Yeah.
uniting all aspects of ourselves, light and dark. He said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
Making the darkness conscious, that involves being vulnerable, doesn't it? Admitting those parts exist.
Absolutely. Vulnerability is key. It's how we make that darkness conscious. And ironically, it's often what fosters deeper connections with others, too.
So purpose isn't just found out there somewhere.
Jung would argue it's largely uncovered internally. By aligning with our true whole self, and the shadow is an integral part of that self. Our wounds, our shadow aspects, when integrated, can genuinely become sources of wisdom and strength.
This has been really, really eye-opening. Seriously deep stuff.
It is deep, but also incredibly practical when you start applying it.
So, for you listening,
hmm
maybe take a moment later today. Think about those hitting parts, those strong reactions. What might your shadow be trying to teach you right now?
And how could those lessons, even the uncomfortable ones, actually lead you toward living a more authentic life?
Yeah. This is really just the beginning, isn't it? There's so much more to understanding this powerful aspect of yourself.
There really is. It's a journey.
Absolutely. And if you found this deep dive into the shadow intriguing, if you want to learn more about unlocking your inner world, definitely follow for more wisdom.
Keep exploring.
The journey of self-discovery is ongoing, and embracing all aspects of yourself, even the shadowy ones, well, that's where real depth, purpose, and wholeness can be found.